I used to think I'd have time to come back, to say I love you, to say I'm sorry, to hold someone just a little longer. But I didn't. Time didn't wait. There are some things you tell yourself you'll do when things calm down, when life is less busy, when the kids are older, when everything settles, when you retire. You imagine there will be a peaceful day, quiet enough, long enough, complete enough for you to finally say the words you've held back for half a lifetime. But then the years pass. Your body begins to slow. Your voice becomes quieter. The phone rings less, family dinners grow quieter, and the things you meant to say are still unsaid. In all my years working with people nearing the end of life, I've rarely heard them speak about jobs, bank accounts, or awards. Instead, they talk about a hug they never gave, a smile never followed by an apology, a phone call postponed and never made, a whispered "I love you" they carried in silence for 40 years, a letter that was never sent, a sleepless night spent with guilt never forgiven, not even by themselves, 15 truths, 15 late-night confessions, 15 regrets that burn quietly like embers under ash. Regrets carried by so many older adults until their final days, but rarely spoken aloud, not because they didn't want to share them, but because no one ever taught them how to say it. Their families never gave them the space to open up, and they themselves didn't know where to begin without feeling weak, like a burden, or like it was too late. But you're here, you're listening, you're still alive, and that means you still have time to avoid the regrets that millions before you carried to their graves. This video isn't here to make you feel guilty. It's here to wake you up, gently, quietly, just enough to make you pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, am I living a life I won't regret? Let me share these with you. 15 truths, not from books, but from the mouths of those living their final days. From the hearts of souls who lived full, courageous lives but still carried a few things they never dared say out loud. And if you're still alive, if you're still listening, then please stay until the end of this video. Because maybe, just maybe, one of these 15 truths will change the rest of your life, or change the final chapter for someone you love. I wish I had loved myself more, instead of only living for others. I used to be the wife who always put her husband first. I used to be the father who prioritized work to provide for the children. I used to be the mother who skipped meals so my child could have a good pair of shoes. I used to be the sister, the friend, the kind colleague, the selfless person. But very rarely was I just me. I don't blame anyone. I chose this. I believed it was love. I lived according to duty, to what I was taught, praised for, expected to be. But now, as I look back with a quiet house, grown children, yellowed wedding photos, trembling hands, I ask myself, how much of this life ever truly belonged to me? Self-neglect in aging is a deeply sad truth. It doesn't come from laziness or ignorance. It comes from misunderstood kindness, from the belief that to make others happy, we must disappear from ourselves. I used to love writing. I once wanted to learn to dance. I dreamed of finishing a book in one sitting. I wanted to wear a bright orange dress, but chose gray because it was age appropriate. I longed for a day at the beach alone, but no one supported it. So I put those things away, one by one, quietly, until I forgot what I ever wanted. Sacrificing too much didn't make me noble. It only made me fade from myself. I didn't know then. Loving others doesn't mean abandoning yourself. Compromising doesn't mean discarding your dreams. Enduring doesn't mean growing used to the absence of your own emotions. And now I sit here at an age where no one expects anything from me anymore. No one calls asking for help. No one needs me to give anything up. I have entire days to rest, but I don't know what to do with myself. Because for decades I never learned how to live for me. Losing yourself in family roles is what silently kills many seniors. You are a mother, a father, a wife, a husband. But you forgot that you are a person too, with hobbies, with feelings, with dreams, with little things you used to love but didn't keep for yourself. If I had the chance to do it all again, I would still love my children, still care for my husband, still tend to my family. But I wouldn't trade my entire self for the label of such a selfless woman. I would learn to love myself while still loving others. And if you are younger than me, if you're 40, 50, or even 70, if you still have the strength to rise each morning, please don't wait until you have nothing left to give before asking yourself, who am I outside of the roles I play? How to love yourself again after 60. Start small. Write down the things you used to love, even if they seem silly. Do something just for you with no need for approval. Allow yourself a little selfishness so you can come home to yourself. And each night, instead of asking what others ate or did, ask, how much of today did I live for me? Because in the end, you won't regret not doing more. You'll regret not living as fully as you were meant to live. I wish I had hugged my parents one last time before it was too late. I still remember the last time I saw my mother. She walked me all the way to the gate. It was cold, but she refused to wear a coat. She waved like she always did. I looked at her through the rearview mirror, smiled faintly, and drove off to make it in time for a meeting. I didn't go back to hug her. I didn't kiss her cheek like I used to when I was little. I didn't say, "Mom, I love you so much." Because I thought, next time I'll do it next time. But next time never came. Grief and missed goodbyes is a kind of pain that lingers without a sharp wound, but bleeding quietly inside. It doesn't arrive with a scream. It comes like a late bell. It echoes every time you see an old photo, every time you taste something she used to cook, every time you remember you never said, "Thank you, Dad, thank you, Mom, for everything." We grow up with a strange belief that our parents will always be there, still in the old kitchen, still asking, "Are you home yet?" Still packing food for us to take, still leaving the light on the door unlocked, waiting for us to return. And because we believe that we postpone love. "I'm too busy, I'll visit next weekend. I'm rushing, take care, Mom. I'll call you later." We assume love is understood even when unspoken. But our parents are growing old. And sometimes all they're waiting for is a hug, just to know they're still in our hearts. Final moments with parents are rarely as dramatic as in the movies. Sometimes it's a handheld, a glance, a quiet meal, an unanswered message, a postponed visit that you never made good on. I once blamed myself deeply for not hugging my mom when she was still standing there in the middle of the yard, for believing that I'll hug her next time. Unspoken love doesn't mean love isn't real. It just means it was too silent. And when they're gone, we're the ones left holding everything that could have happened. If you still have your parents, please don't wait. Don't wait to be less busy, more settled, less overwhelmed, because the price of delay in love is lifelong regret. Hug them. Say what you've never said. Let them know they still matter, even with gray hair, fading memory, even if they're no longer as useful as before. Regret from emotional distance is something that no success, no wealth, no strength can ever erase. Because the person you wanted to say "I love you" to is no longer here to hear it. If you live far from your parents, call them. If you live nearby, go to them. If you're holding a grudge, forgive. If you can still hug them, do it today. Because one day, you'll wish you had done it just once more. Just once. One last time. I wish I had forgiven the one who hurt me. I carried a quiet rage with me for over 30 years. They betrayed me, shattered my dignity, destroyed a bond I once considered sacred. I never talked about it. I just avoided, put on a brave face, lived well, never said their name again. When people asked, I smiled and said, "I've already moved on." But the truth is, I never did. I didn't forget. I just folded the pain away and carried it with me. Carrying pain into old age is something so many elders do. No one sees it, no one touches it, but it lives. Beneath every backache, headache, sleepless night, in the weary eyes that greet each morning, in the tightening chest when you hear their name, In the cold, practiced words, don't bring up the past, B. Forgiveness is not easy, especially when the one who hurt you never apologized, never regretted it, never came back to make things right. In those cases, forgiveness feels like weakness, like surrender, like losing. But then, I got old, I got tired, and I realized I no longer had the strength to stay angry. And every day I carried that anger was a day I wasn't truly living. Letting go after 60 isn't because they deserve it. It's because I deserve peace. I didn't forgive to reconcile. I forgave to keep moving forward without dragging that invisible weight behind me. I wrote it down. I named the feeling. I cried truly just once. I looked directly at the wound without flinching. And then I said, I don't agree with what you did, but I no longer carry you in my heart. Forgiving without reconciliation is a sacred choice. You don't need to reunite. You don't need a tearful hug. You only need a decision in your own heart. I won't let this rule me anymore. I won't let one person's past mistake ruin what's left of my days. If you've been carrying resentment for years, I understand. And I'm not telling you to get over it today. But please ask yourself, do I really want to take this to the grave with me? Write a letter. You don't have to send it, just write it. Let yourself name what you endured, and when you're ready, burn it. Not for revenge, but for release. Emotional liberation is when you realize, my peace should not depend on someone else's apology. I have the right to be free in my mind, in my heart, in every breath I still have. If someone hurt you deeply and never said they were sorry, then forgive for you, not for them. Because there's a kind of freedom that needs no ticket, no money, no one beside you. Only one quiet sentence in your heart. I leave this behind. I move on lighter. I wish I hadn't held so many feelings inside just because I was afraid to bother anyone. I used to have so much I wanted to say. But every time my feelings rose to my throat, I swallowed them down. I didn't speak when I felt sad. I didn't speak when I felt lonely. I didn't speak when I felt dismissed. I didn't speak because I was afraid of being a burden. I saw my children were busy. I saw my grandchildren laughing. I saw everyone living their own lives. And I thought, my feelings aren't important enough to disrupt anything. They're not responsible for carrying my sorrow. Emotional suppression in seniors is not a strength. It's the result of a lifetime spent learning to endure. When you're used to being the one in the background, the one who provides, the one who stays quiet, the one who knows better, you begin to treat silence as a way to survive. But the price you pay is the slow unraveling of your inner self. I used to smile when my child shared happy news while my heart was in chaos. I used to nod, I'm fine, when the doctor asked though I hadn't slept the night before. I used to say it's nothing when someone I loved hurt me. I thought that was noble, but now I understand. It was how I lost the ability to be understood. Silent suffering is a prison without a door. No one locks you in. You walk in yourself, and then you're too afraid to step out because you think no one on the outside wants to hear what's inside. Do you know what hurts the most? It's not the heavy feelings. It's having no place to release them. An elder who's not allowed to cry, not allowed to get angry, not allowed to be weak, not allowed to speak freely. They slowly become a wall that breathes but no longer lives. Self-silencing in old age is not a free choice. It's the result of fearing rejection, judgment, or being labeled a burden. You don't want people to walk away. You don't want your children to think, why is mom always so negative? You don't want anyone to have to deal with your emotions, so you package them up, layer by layer, until you can't feel your heart stir anymore. If I had a chance to live again, I would speak. Even if my voice trembled, even if the person didn't understand, even if I cried in front of someone. Because now I know feelings left unspoken don't disappear. They stay, and they erode you slowly, quietly. If you're holding something back because you're afraid of bothering others, please ask yourself, if today were my last day, would I still choose to stay silent? Fear of being a burden is very real. But you don't have to trade your truth for the comfort of others. You deserve to speak. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to cry, to be soft, to open up. Not because someone needs to fix you, but because you need to live honestly before every feeling explodes inside your own body. I wish I had written down my life story, so my children and grandchildren could understand. I once lived a life that no one truly knew. I once loved someone so deeply it broke my heart. I had vivid dreams that I folded away in slumps under the weight of duty. I once survived something I thought I'd never recover from. I once said I was fine just to keep the peace at home. I've done more than people realize. I've lost more than anyone knows. I was once a whole person layered full of depth, yet no one ever reached those parts of me. But I never wrote any of it down. I used to think, what's there to tell? I'm no one special, not someone famous. My kids are busy. No one really needs to hear about the past. And so, I let an entire life drift by as if it never really happened. Life storytelling isn't about showing off. It's a way to hold on to your soul when your body is aging, your memory fading, and the people who knew the younger version of you are slowly disappearing. Have you ever wished your grandfather had written about his time in the army? Ever wanted to ask your mother how she met your father? Ever been curious how your grandmother got through her darkest year? And if you never found out, it's because they never wrote it, never told it. Memoir healing doesn't just help the reader, it heals the writer. When you look back, organize your memories, give names to every pain and every quiet joy. You begin to realize, I didn't live a meaningless life. I walked through a journey that was anything but ordinary. Writing your story doesn't need to be beautiful. It doesn't need fancy language. It doesn't need chapters. It just needs to be real. A notebook, a voice recording, a half-finished email, a blog no one reads, a handwritten page tucked into a drawer. That's not a small story, that's a legacy. Legacy through words is the greatest spiritual gift you can leave behind. Not money, not possessions, but spirit experience and lessons, the things only you can offer. If I could live again, I'd start writing while I still remembered. I'd write the smallest things. I'd write about the pain I never told anyone. I'd write about the one I loved whose name was never once spoken at a family dinner. I'd write about the youth I gave up so my children could have the life they do now. And if you are still alive, if you can still remember, if you can still hold a pen, start writing today, even just 5 lines, even if no one says this is amazing writing. Because passing wisdom to the next generation is the only way to ensure the things you learn through tears aren't buried with you. Leave something behind so your children and grandchildren will know. Grandma and Grandpa weren't just the ones who cooked, who babysat, who reminded us to take our medicine. They were once a living, breathing soul. And I'm lucky I got to hear a piece of the life they lived before me. If this story touched something deep in you, please take a moment to subscribe to the Life After 60, because we believe health isn't just about numbers. Healing doesn't always come from pills, and wisdom, the kind earned through decades of quiet endurance, deserves to be heard, shared, and passed on. At the Life After 60, we don't just tell stories, we honor lives. And if you're still here, still breathing, still wondering if it's too late to change, let us remind you, it's not too late. Not for your body, not for your spirit, not for the life you still have left to live. Subscribe today and walk with us on this quiet, powerful journey of coming home to yourself.